and to be raised by their mother and father, and rendered those voices irrelevant. It rendered the voters of tens of millions of Americans who have gone to the ballot box and said that marriage should be between a man and a woman, as it has been for countless millennia. Because we know that the freedom to democratically address the most pressing issues of our day is the heart of liberty. And today, 5 justices stole that freedom, the freedom to democratically debate and discuss the most pressing social issues of our time. They stole that from every single one of us. I would now like to introduce my colleague, Austin Nimitz, Senior Counsel at Alliance Defending Freedom. Austin has argued the Virginia marriage cases. He also was part of the legal team that argued and defended Proposition 8, California's marriage laws. Thank you.
Good morning, and thank you, Kelly. Again, the name is Austin Nimitz, Nimocks, Senior Counsel with Alliance Defending Freedom. Today, 5 lawyers, as the court mentioned, took away the voices of over 300 million Americans to continue to debate the most important social institution in the history of the world. That decision is truly unfortunate, and as Justice Roberts mentioned in his dissent, choking off such a robust debate among so many different people of good faith will have consequences. We, of course, are concerned about the freedom of conscience of millions of Americans who continue to believe that marriage is the union of one man and one woman, and that both mothers and fathers are important and essential for child rearing. That nobody has the right to say that a mom or a woman or a dad or a man is irrelevant, and that there are differences that shouldn't be celebrated. Millions of Americans still believe that, and yet the court today choked off that debate. We hope that millions of Americans who still believe that a marriage is one man and one woman will continue to proclaim that truth today in our society and our culture, notwithstanding the court's decision. And I will be happy to take any questions if there are any. All right, I will introduce my colleague Jordan Lawrence, Lorence. Jordan is Senior Counsel with Alliance Defending Freedom and also lead counsel in the Elaine Photography, New Mexico photographer case. Jordan.
The one thing that to be stressed here is that only the government can violate the Constitution, not individual people with their own beliefs. And what I fear, as we saw with the very strong reactions to individual business owners, et cetera, who express a view that marriage is only defined as one man and one woman, is that laws are used to compel them to participate in ceremonies that they don't agree with, or force them to make messages about marriage and the definition of marriage that they don't agree with. As Justice Kennedy said just moments ago in the courtroom, constitutional rights are not up for popular vote. So popular laws cannot take away people's right to freedom of speech, their right to freedom of press and assembly, to choose their own jobs. And we hope that this decision today will not be used as an excuse to ostracize, to demonize, or to punish people for holding views contrary to what 5 of the 9 justices said today. Thank you.
I was right here, so...
They're going to come down now.
Good. All right.
Action.
Are you ready?
Go for it, Tim.
Good morning. My name is Jim Obergefell, and I'm from Cincinnati, Ohio. I've lived in Ohio for most of my life. My late husband, John, and I were together for almost 21 years before he passed away as a result of the complications of ALS. I'm here today in front of our nation's highest court because my home state fought the recognition of my marriage to John. And when the man I loved and cared for passed away from one of the cruelest diseases known to humanity, the state of Ohio, the state in which I've lived, worked, and paid taxes for most of my life, continued to fight my right to list my name on John's death certificate. No American should have to suffer that indignity. That's why John and I and the 30 plaintiffs who are part of this lawsuit decided to fight. I know in my heart that John is with me today. That man cared for and loved me for 21 years through thick and thin. Today's ruling from the Supreme Court affirms what millions across this country already know to be true in our hearts. Our love is equal. That the 4 words etched onto the front of the Supreme Court, equal justice under law, apply to us too. All Americans deserve equal dignity, respect, and treatment when it comes to the recognition of our relationships and families. Now, at long last, Ohio will recognize our marriage, and most important, marriage equality will come to every state across our country. It's my hope that the term gay marriage will soon be a thing of the past, that from this day forward, it will simply be marriage, and our nation will be better off because of it. I also hope that this decision has a profound effect in reducing the stigma, the hurt, the alienation, and discrimination that LGBT people all too often feel when we live our lives openly and authentically. At the same time, while we will celebrate today's victory, my heart is also in Charleston. These past few weeks and months have been an important reminder that discrimination in many forms is alive and well in America. It reminds us of the deeply unfortunate reality that progress for some is not progress for all, and that there can be equally significant steps backward as there are forward. If we're truly dedicated to our democracy and the values that we as a nation cherish, we must be equally committed to ensuring that all citizens are treated equally, that all Americans deserve justice. That's when we're all united. I want to thank my legal team, and especially Al Gerhardstein, who stood by me every single step of the way. And thank you to ACLU, Lambda Legal, GLAD, and NCLR, and all of the litigators, plaintiffs, and organizations who fought for equality. Today's victory, our shared victory, was only possible because of each and every one of you. I'd like to give a special thank you to Mary Bonato and Doug Hallward-Dreimeyer, who brilliantly argued our case before the court and eloquently affirmed my life and relationship and those of millions of others like me across this country. We owe you all a huge debt of gratitude. But most importantly, I'd like to thank John for loving me, for making me a better man, and for giving me something worth fighting for. I love you. This is for you, John. Thank you.
This is Mary Bonato from Gay and Lesbian Advocates and Defenders.
Hey everyone, I'm Mary Bonato, lawyer, Gay and Lesbian Advocates and Defenders. I argued question 1, and I want to say today was a momentous decision, and it is going to bring joy to millions of families, gay and straight, across this land. And now, every person in this country who's LGBT realizes they can marry tomorrow. They can marry someday the person they love and make that unique commitment and take on that unique responsibility, just as Kennedy talked about this morning, that is marriage. It is also a great thing for kids who no longer have to question why their parents were deemed unworthy of marriage, and those kids can also have the same security and protections that marriage provides to families. This is also a great day for our Constitution. Make no mistake about it. Today, the court stood by a principle in this nation that we do not tolerate laws that disadvantage people because of who they are. So it is a day for equality, for liberty, and for justice under law. And as I say that, of course, there are thousands of people gathered together mourning in Charleston because it is still true in our nation that people sometimes are targeted and face unspeakable acts of violence because of who they are. So as we celebrate what is a landmark ruling for love and for justice, let us also rededicate ourselves to ensuring that every person in this nation can live safely and securely and have the freedoms and opportunities our Constitution promises us. We need to do this for each other, and we owe this to future generations. And I thank everyone who's helped make this day possible. Millions of people, the plaintiffs, the lawyers, everyone. Thank you.
And now Douglas Howard Dreemeyer from Ropes and Gray. This is truly a great day for all Americans. The court stressed in its opinion that marriage is fundamental. Marriage is fundamental to couples. It's fundamental to the families they build around their marriages. It is fundamental to society. It's hard to believe that just less than 2 decades ago, gay and lesbian individuals faced the possibility of being jailed simply because of the person they loved. Today, the Supreme Court validates the full equality under law of all gay, lesbian, transgendered individuals and the person they love, and that they are entitled to the full measure of equality and dignity that the Constitution promises. And by protecting the rights of gays and lesbians, the court has protected the rights of all Americans, because those rights that are fundamental should never depend on being able to persuade a majority that they should be tolerated. That is in fact the nature of being rights. But this victory did not come just by happenstance. It was the product of many decades of hard labor by many, many people, led certainly by my colleague Mary Bonato, who has been a leader in this movement for decades. It took the bravery of the plaintiffs willing to stand up and insist on their rights. And it took many, many organizations, the collective efforts of which have today realized this momentous decision that we can all celebrate. Thank you very much.
And now we have Greg Burke and Michael DeLeon, plaintiffs in the Kentucky case.
Hi, everybody. Hi, everybody. My name is Greg Burke. I'm from Louisville, Kentucky. I'm here with my husband, Michael DeLeon, and our 2 adopted children, Isabella and Isaiah. We're also joined today by a co-plaintiff, Tevin Johnson-Campion, back here. His parents didn't quite make it, but we're glad he did. We're just so grateful to be here. What I'd like to start by saying is what I think everyone should say when something very good happens in their life. We need to pause and give thanks to God. As lifelong practicing Catholics, that's how we feel. We feel like this is God's intention and God's work. And so we embrace it and we thank God for it. Michael and I have been together for 33 years. We've been legally married for 11 years, but not until today did the state of Kentucky recognize our union. So this is a watershed day for our family. It is the same for all Kentuckians and for all Americans. It's been a long path for us in our 33 years. We know that people have been fighting this fight for decades. Many of them are here with us today, and we thank them all. We also thank so many people, especially the ACLU, who has been so supportive of us, the Stanford Law Clinic, and our superb legal team back in Kentucky who got us started. the Favre Law Office, and Clay Daniel, Walton Adams. We've had so much support from so many people, including Evan Wolfson. We can't leave him out. He's been one of the founding fathers of the marriage equality movement. None of us would be here today without the foundation that has been laid over the last 30 years, actually. So we're grateful to be here for the end. Michael and I have been together through a lot of it. We never thought we'd see this happen. We're so grateful today that we're here to be able to celebrate this. I'll tell you what this means for our family. This means that our children will now be able to have two legal parents after 16 and a half years of being raised by the both of us. Now we will finally be able to request from the Commonwealth of Kentucky second parent adoptions, and we will be a legal family in the state of Kentucky. That means the world to us, and it's very important for Kentucky and for the country. One last thing I'd like to say, there's a song that we sing in our church. It starts out, "The strife is o'er, the battle done," and that's the way we feel today. We have overcome. Today we are equal. We have earned equal rights to marriage and the freedom to marry for all Kentuckians, for all Americans, and I'll just tell you, it feels very good. So thank you very much.
Thank you. We now have James Essex, Director of the ACLU LGBT Project.
Hey there. Hi, everybody. I'm James Essex, Director of the LGBT Project at the ACLU. This morning, the Supreme Court welcomed same-sex couples into the American family. It recognized that we make the commitment, we express the love, and we need the protections that are at the core of marriage. And that makes today a watershed moment in the movement for LGBT equality and for the country as a whole. Because today is an epic leap forward for equality, for humanity, for joy, and for love. This journey started a long time ago, at least as far back as 1967, when Mildred and Richard Loving brought a case to the U.S. Supreme Court right here, and the Supreme Court struck down bans on interracial marriage. And it continued in 1970, when a couple named Jack Baker and Michael McConnell filed the first lawsuit in the country seeking the freedom to marry. And the ACLU is proud and honored to have represented Mildred and Richard Loving and Jack Baker and Michael McConnell, just as we would represent Jim Obergefell, Greg Burke and Michael DeLeon, and many of the other plaintiffs today. So today is a day to celebrate, not just a day to celebrate, although it is absolutely that. It is also a day to say thank you. Thank you to all the people who have been working on this issue for such a long time, all the people who came out to their friends and their families and their employers and their churches, all the advocates who worked in courthouses and in legislatures and talking to the public about ballot committees, because this is something that has collectively, over time, changed America's understanding of same-sex couples. We rejoice today because today's decision has made the country more fair, more free, more equal, in short, more American today. And for that, we are enormously grateful. Thank you.
Next we have Pam York-Smith and Nicole York-Smith.
I'm with you. Just give me about a 20 minutes every count. Audio check 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Audio check 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Ladies and gentlemen, audio check. Testing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Audio check 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Ladies and gentlemen, please make sure your cell phones are on silent. Thank you.
We're getting close here from the Rose Garden. Yeah. We're getting. Okay.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is the 2-minute warning.
Good morning. Our nation was founded on a bedrock principle that we are all created equal. The project of each generation is to bridge the meaning of those founding words with the realities of changing times. A never-ending quest to ensure those words ring true for every single American. Progress on this journey often comes in small increments. Sometimes 2 steps forward, 1 step back, propelled by the persistent effort of dedicated citizens. And then sometimes there are days like this, when that slow, steady effort is rewarded with justice that arrives like a thunderbolt. This morning, the Supreme Court recognized that the Constitution guarantees marriage equality. In doing so, they've reaffirmed that all Americans are entitled to the equal protection of the law, that all people should be treated equally, regardless of who they are or who they love. This decision will end the patchwork system we currently have. It will end the uncertainty hundreds of thousands of same-sex couples face from not knowing whether their marriage, legitimate in the eyes of one state, will remain if they decide to move or even visit another. This ruling will strengthen all of our communities by offering to all loving same-sex couples the dignity of marriage across this great land. In my second inaugural address, I said that if we are truly created equal, then surely the love we commit to one another must be equal as well. It is gratifying to see that principle enshrined into law by this decision. This ruling is a victory for Jim Obergefell and the other plaintiffs in the case. It's a victory for gay and lesbian couples who have fought so long for their basic civil rights. It's a victory for their children, whose families will now be recognized as equal to any other. It's a victory for the allies and friends and supporters who spent years, even decades, working and praying for change to come. And this ruling is a victory for America. This decision affirms what millions of Americans already believe in their hearts. When all Americans are treated as equal, we are all more free. My administration has been guided by that idea. It's why we stopped defending the so-called Defense of Marriage Act, and why we were pleased when the court finally struck down a central provision of that discriminatory law. It's why we ended Don't Ask, Don't Tell. From extending full marital benefits to federal employees and their spouses, to expanding hospital visitation rights for LGBT patients and their loved ones, we've made real progress in advancing equality for LGBT Americans in ways that were unimaginable not too long ago. I know change for many of our LGBT brothers and sisters must have seemed so slow for so long. But compared to so many other issues, America's shift has been so quick. I know that Americans of goodwill continue to hold a wide range of views on this issue. Opposition in some cases has been based on sincere and deeply held beliefs. All of us who welcome today's news should be mindful of that fact. Recognize different viewpoints. Revere our deep commitment to religious freedom. But today should also give us hope that on the many issues with which we grapple, often painfully, real change is possible. Shifts in hearts and minds is possible. And those who have come so far on their journey to equality have a responsibility to reach back and help others join them. Because for all our differences, we are one people, stronger together than we could ever be alone. That's always been our story. We are big and vast and diverse, a nation of people with different backgrounds and beliefs, different experiences and stories, but bound by our shared ideal that no matter who you are or what you look like, how you started off, or how and who you love, America's a place where you can write your own destiny. We are a people who believe that every single child is entitled to life and liberty and the pursuit of happiness. There's so much more work to be done to extend the full promise of America to every American. But today we can say, in no uncertain terms, that we've made our union a little more perfect. That's the consequence of a decision from the Supreme Court, but more importantly, it is a consequence of the countless small acts of courage of millions of people across decades who stood up, who came out, who talked to parents, parents who loved their children no matter what, folks who were willing to endure bullying and taunts and stayed strong and came to believe in themselves and who they were. And slowly made an entire country realize that love is love. What an extraordinary achievement. What a vindication of the belief that ordinary people can do extraordinary things. What a reminder of what Bobby Kennedy once said about how small actions can be like pebbles being thrown into a still lake. Ripples of hope cascade outwards and change the world. Those countless, often anonymous heroes, they deserve our thanks. They should be very proud. America should be very proud. Thank you.